Israel, this is one part of policy debates where Republicans haven't always been in the same place. Ronald Reagan used to mention this prominently as a target for elimination, but during the recently passed Bush administrations, the Department of Education became bigger and more expensive all the time.
Yeah.
Where's the party now?
I don't know. I guess we'd have to talk to the new RNC chairman and ask him directly. But I do think that what the piece was getting at was that the Department of Education has really been failing our country. And for me, who looks specifically at Hispanics, it's been failing Hispanics. And so, obviously, the root of it is that the federal government has been running public education for the last 40 years. But the academic achievements just haven't matched up to the millions and millions of dollars that we spend every year. And so I would like for us to at least be open to start thinking about what can states and parents do to help close the achievement gap.
Have they really been running public education, or are they really just a clearinghouse for money? Money gets aggregated and then sent out to states that are running public education and maybe not doing a very good job.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, you have No Child Left Behind, for instance. I mean, that was policy in that too. It wasn't just a clearinghouse. You have talks about creating national standards. So I think it's going beyond just money. I mean, it really is about calling the shots.
Brent, worth keeping, worth taking a look at changing.
Well, I don't think that's even really a serious debate whether to eliminate it or not. I think the new incoming subcommittee chair in the House is committed to education reform along the lines of what President Bush passed with No Child Left Behind, but also looking at the reauthorization. There's a lot of things that we've learned in the intervening years about how to improve the education reform efforts. We've got some great ideas as well, especially in how it serves the limited English proficient population. And so I think that the ESCA is a likely bill to get passed this year with bipartisan support. And I think that there'll continue to be this effort for the federal government to try to not necessarily fund the entire public education system, because it's not even close, but to at least help steer towards reform, because I think both Democrats and Republicans realize our nation's competitiveness is definitely dependent upon a good quality education system in our country, and we're not doing well right now.
I don't know if it's a serious proposal right now, but I think it's emblematic of how hard it is to cut anything, because anything in the federal budget has a constituency. That's how it got there in the first place. So if you can't cut here and you can't cut there and you can't cut here and you can't cut there, pretty much you eventually can't cut anywhere.
Well, but I mean, education is so critical. I mean, our future competitiveness, we're ranking near the bottom now in industrialized nations in educational outcomes. We are seriously behind, and we've seen that effect in how that impacts our economy, where Asian nations are starting to overtake the U.S. economy. We've got to step up, and we've got to deliver, and the best thing we can do, the best investment our country can make, is ensuring that we have a quality education. That doesn't mean the government's going to fund the whole thing, especially the federal government, but the idea of reform is critical, and there is broad bipartisan support, in my opinion. I think that getting rid of the Department of Education is not on the table. I do think, though, that there will be some efforts to try to perfect No Child Left Behind in the coming year.
Tom?
Yeah, it's another one of these, what I would call a kind of typical Republican half measure or symbolic measure, kind of like reading the Constitution on the floor of the House without any serious intellectual study of what the Constitution is and what the brilliant men who wrote it were thinking. So, you'd abolish the Department of Education. That's just a building. I mean, it's housing agencies and so forth who are administering statutes. If you don't repeal the statutes, then those programs have to be administered by other departments. So it's just empty symbolism. But who's really talking about repealing the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act, or the Education for the all handicapped children, or the grant programs? And nobody's really talking seriously about repealing those. Nobody's talking seriously about, once again, a free market in education. Why does government have any role in education at all? I mean, we don't send our children to government-run cafeterias each day where they have to select from one government menu so that, to make sure the government makes sure our children get fed properly. Nothing's more important than food. But the market provides food, and it couldn't provide education. 1,000 different educational theories and modalities and so forth to serve the underserved, to serve Latinos, blacks, all people across the spectrum would be served just as they are by restaurants, grocery stores, and so forth.
Well, the government is involved either directly or by implication in education. It has been for a long time. I mean,
traditionally, but education is not a right, just as health care is not a right. This is what we're trying to inject into the debate, and I don't expect my panelists to agree with it, but this is what we're trying to put out here on the table for debate, is think about, why does government even have a role at all, aside from protecting individual rights, contract rights, fraud, and so forth?
So mandatory education laws, for instance, that require that you stay in school till you're 16, you could easily live without those as well, then, because that's the
you can
front
have
door.
Serious debate about what the minimum level of education is before there's child abuse, just as the same thing in nutrition. I mean, parents cannot legally starve their children, but the government should not have the power to dictate the menu each day.